back to the channel. So this video is going to be a little bit different than a normal video. It's going to be a haul item of one item, and I'm going to give you the story behind it. It's not going to be for sale. This week's been kind of hectic. I did not get any filming done this week, with the exception of one video, because we didn't have any auctions. I did not have a lot of hauls coming up. And we had a lot of stuff going on around the house. It's springtime, so landscaper was here to do that. We had some issues with the power from a storm. It affected one of the freezers, so that's on the fritz, so we're dealing with that. But unfortunately, Thursday evening, I got a phone call from a friend of mine that a friend who I've known through auction, that was a very good friend with my buddy Jason, had passed away. She succumbed to cancer in the early morning hours of Thursday. And Nancy was very, very knowledgeable on a lot of things when it came to antiques. She had been in this business probably 50, 60 years. I used to see her every week. She would come out to the auction house before the sale started or right when the doors opened. She'd leave bids with us, just chit-chat with us to see how we were doing, how things were going. She always grabbed my arm, patted my hand, and said, "Hey, sweetie, how's it going? What's new? What's new, kid?" Or she'd pull me over. There'd be a stack of quilts, and as soon as I saw her come in, that was the one thing her and I had in common, was we both liked textiles. And she'd always go over, and I thought, oh, Nancy's going to want to leave a bid on these quilts, and I'm not going to be able to bid on them, because if she left a bid on them, odds are nobody was going to get them. But she would show me the stitching, and I learned an immense amount about textiles from Nancy over the years, and she had a fantastic style and eye. So when I heard she passed away after I got off the phone, the first thing I thought about was I need to go over to Bedford Street and buy that quilt. And I'll show you the quilt here in a minute. Nancy bought this quilt, I want to say it's been 15 plus years ago from the auction. And I saw the quilt and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And we'll talk a little bit about it. But the quilt has been sitting in that booth for 15 plus years. And I even think it has acquired a couple stains over the years from sitting in the booth. But I walked over, or I got there first thing when they opened. I was talking to the owners. We were talking, swapping stories. And I went over and I picked it up, and when I handed it to them, I think everybody kind of got teary-eyed because she knew why I was buying it. Anyway, so I bought this quilt, and it's a nice way to kind of remember her. And there's some interesting information about the quilt and the design of it that actually makes it even a little bit more special. So we'll go over, I have it spread out on the one bed so I can show you guys it, and then we'll talk about it and look at it and go from there. So stay tuned. All right, here we are. All right, here we are. So as you can see, at first glance, it looks like a very basic flower quilt. But if we zoom in here, there's all sorts of names embroidered on each one of the petals. So like I said, this quilt had come through auction probably 15 plus years ago, and I just was drawn to it because you don't see quilts with names on it. So I was very, very drawn to it, and of course Nancy bought it, and I just kept seeing it over and over again in her booth. And I almost bought it about a year or two ago, and then I thought, no, I guess it's not really the time. So interesting enough, this is actually called a friendship or remembrance quilt, which I think is the perfect quilt to have to remember somebody by. So each one of these people were either part of a class or a family. I think this was a family because there's a lot of, like this one is Vanilla Millers. There's a lot of Millers on here. I see there's a lot of Mills on here. So I think this was primarily a family quilt with all the family members on it, which I think is a really neat thing. And it's not one of Nancy's personal quilts, but it is one of her from her booth. And it's something that I remember her buying. And I think it's actually pretty cool. I might see if I can find somebody to actually put her name somewhere, maybe on the, like one of these corners, like somewhere in here or something, just so that since it's a remembrance quilt, she should be remembered on it too. That's often something in this business when you, especially if you're an auction goer over the years, you tend to meet people and they leave a little bit of an impression in your life. So it's always nice to have something from them. But this is what it is. I think it's a very cool piece. I think I'm going to try to do some research, see if I can figure out I think the majority of the last names is Mills. I see a lot of Mills on it. So I'm going to see if I can figure out if there's some kind of family trait here. As you do see, there's like some staining here. This definitely looks like somebody's soda spilled on it. I'm going to see if I can get some of these stains out. So if you guys have tips or tricks to get stains out of quilts without having to wash them, there is this one here which looks like a rust stain. So let me know, leave a comment down below, any good tips or tricks to get the stains out. So we'll go back over here and talk about this some more. So as I was starting to say in there, when you're in this business, you tend to come across other people that share the same interests in things, and so you build friendships. We actually have a group of people that used to go out every Thursday for dinner. So we called ourselves the Burger Night Crew. We haven't done that in a while since the pandemic. The pandemic kind of screwed everything up when it came to some of this stuff. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, even after things kind of opened back up, I didn't see a lot of Nancy. She would come through the week and leave bids with other people, and so I think the last time I talked to her was about 6 months ago, and she was doing great. And unfortunately, she got diagnosed with cancer, and it didn't work. So she went very suddenly. The chemo didn't work, I should say, but she went very suddenly. So you tend to see people in this business who, if you're lucky enough, you become friends with. They teach you a lot of stuff. And even though her and I weren't close friends, I've heard a lot of great stories about her from other people this week who were kind of in the same position that they knew her from auctions, and they were acquaintances, and not the best, not best friends, but everybody had funny stories to say. And so in situations like this, I always like to have something just to remember the person by. There's a lot of things in this house I can walk around and say, that belonged to this person or that belonged to that person. That's the little spiel on the quilt. Like I said, it's nice to have something to remember your friends by. So, like I said, this video is a little different than it normally is, but I thought it was cool to do, just to to give a little bit of background and show something that I think is a really cool piece that was tucked away in a booth for so long. I don't think a lot of people appreciated it or even saw it. and I knew it was there, so I could have bought it years ago, but I think now it just means a little bit more. If you guys want to leave a comment down below, feel free to. Let me know what you thought of the video, and we'll go from there. See you guys in the next one.